So here's what you missed on Glee. Like, a lot actually. Like, where have you been? You seriously need to catch up. The most obvious thing first, McKinley is no longer an arts high school. It was for a few years, but eventually the government gave up on it, like everyone gave up watching Glee post season 3. If you ask me, it's a good thing McKinley's back to normal because Mr. Shute did not seem qualified to be principal. So you also got blacklisted for being principal after the whole Klein scandal. Oof, that puppet still haunts my dreams. That leaves Samantha Seymour as the principal of McKinley. She's quiet and awkward, but hey, at least her hands aren't tied. Mr. Shute, who was surprisingly still alive and not behind bars, unfortunately, returned to his position as coach of the New Directions, now with a co-teacher. The New Directions remains one of the country's most winning show choirs, so that's pretty lame. But at least they can live without fear that there will ever be budget cuts again. But who cares about the show choir? We're all here for the OG Glee Squad. In more shocking news, Finn never died. Gasp. What a plot twist. Yeah, everyone just kind of thought he died. He had a whole funeral, planted a tree, but it turns out he was just lost in combat after he was pronounced dead. Even though everyone thought that he was 6 feet underground, he was just unconscious in a Vietnamese hospital with no identification. But we don't have time to unpack that. That's a different show. Eventually, he made his way back to Lima and to a very particular person, Rachel Berry. Well, she was engaged to Jesse St. James at the time because she thought her soulmate was totally dead. When she saw Finnegan for the first time since his death, she fell in love all over again. Soulmates, remember? Meaning, Rachel broke off her engagement with Jesse. Awkward. It makes it even more awkward that the two still have to work together at the Cincinnati Theater. After COVID hit in 2020, Broadway was never able to recover. Hope you guys got to see Mean Girls while you still had the chance. To rebuild theater across the country, because that's what everyone needs, even more annoying theater kids. The musical theater industry established itself in Cincinnati. How convenient. Ohio is now the forefront for all jazz squares and box steps. As to be expected, Rachel was one of the actresses to make the big move. Since then, she's been one of the theater's biggest stars, but not as perfect in her life are her 3 kids. As to also be expected, they aren't her biggest fans. There's Jackson. He's a senior and basically the male version of Rachel Berry. Yikes. Well, he wouldn't totally love that comparison. He is the de facto leader of the Glee Club and loves attention. That said, he is also the quarterback following his father's legacy. Barbara, or Baby as she prefers, whose only personality traits are wanting to be popular and hating on her mom. I spy some mommy issues. And lastly, there's Sabrina, your friendly neighborhood freshman emo edgelord. Then Finn, enjoying the new chance at life, opened up a cafe music store with his dearest, bestest friend Puck. Surprisingly to both of us, including both of their wives, the business didn't fail within the first week and was surprisingly successful, especially to all those hipster Lima kids who were listening to music the old-fashioned way, on CDs. Puckerman finally settled down with his soulmate. Stay. He did, in fact, stay. Between Quinn being a serial cheater and Puck being, well, Puck, none of us saw that relationship lasting. But good on them, yay! Both of them are pretty successful. Puck, of course, being a business owner and a vet in the Air Force. Quinn, after graduating at the top of her class from Yale, worked in journalism publication for a while before deciding to work with Brittany full-time. More on that later. As for now, remember Beth, their illegitimate bastard child? Well, they really did either, so don't worry. She was living her best 8-year-old life with her mom, Shelby Corcoran, when the worst thing imaginable happened. Someone please cue the sad music. Thank you. Shelby was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer. An aneurysm took her out. Womp womp. Now leaving Beth an orphan bastard child in ward of the state. Having no other family but a strange uncle, Shelby put in her will that Quinn and Puck were to take Beth in, or she would go into the foster care system. The thing is, had just had a baby. Once again, talk about awkwardness. Still, they took Beth in and the rest was history. That little baby was Lily, now a senior. She's like a total uptight buzzkill. Her only goal is to be valedictorian and get into an Ivy League. Quite big shoes to fill when your mom is Quinn Fabray. The Puckerman family continued to grow. We have Claire and Thomas, twins, and juniors. Claire's like a totally perfect, bubbly blonde, even dating the quarterback, Jackson. That's Finn's son to anyone paying attention. Thomas, on the other hand, is Lima's most famous team dad. Not being able to wrap it before you tap it must be a genetic thing for the Puckermans, as Thomas is a 16-year-old with a baby. Unlike his parents, he actually kept his bastard daughter, Hazel. His relationship with her mom is, well, questionable at best. Poor Thomas is a perpetual victim to the situationship. That sucks for him. The last two of the Puckerman clan are Ella and Olivia. Ella is an 8th grader and goes to Dalton Academy, which is no longer a sausage fest. Ella is unimportant. You can just forget I even mentioned her. Olivia is an 8-year-old possible future drug lord. They should really keep an eye on her. Back to Beth. Told you to remember her. She's now 26, engaged to Marcus, who is currently serving the country, not cunt. Beth got into NYADA thinking she was gonna be a singer. Failed at that. Tried to live abroad. Failed at that. Transferred over to NYU. Didn't completely fail at that. Went to law school. Failed at that. Having no other choice and no money, she was forced to move back in with her parents, claiming the whole "you gave me up for adoption, you own me" act. She finally settled when Mr. Shu offered her a job as co-director of the New Directions. Time will tell if she'll fail at that. Her track record ain't looking too good. Disregarding the fact that Quinn is basically Michelle Duggar's apprentice, she also decided to surrogate for her friends, Kurt and Blaine. Did we ever see her interact with them in the series? No. Well, we're disregarding that fact because they're actually pretty good friends. She had their daughters, Lorelai, who's 21, and Stella, a junior. Lorelai is Kurt's only biological kid because he got prostate cancer, and if he wanted to have any of his own biological kids, he had to do it then and there at the ripe young age of 23. Kurt's cancer journey is a long story, but we don't have time for that. Anyway, Lori is their golden child and totally not their favorite. She excelled in dance since birth, and by kindergarten was practically a prodigy. Jane and Kurt, realizing her talent, sent her off to New York to attend an arts boarding school. She's lived in New York ever since, only ever really coming home for holidays and special occasions. Now, as an adult, she currently goes to NYADA and recently got her big break at the Metropolitan Opera House. So good for her. Stella is a firecracker. One might call her the White Santana. Can you say that? Yeah, I think so. Glee didn't get canceled by Stan Twitter, neither can we. Anyway, she's sassy, mean, extremely emotionally unavailable, and the only straight girl in her house. Then there's Hepburn, or more casually known as Bernie. He's Rachel's biological son because Quinn couldn't produce anything but girls and eventually gave up after 8 kids. Bernie is obsessed with Broadway and fashion, taking after his dad's and as straight as the rainbow. Speaking of his dads, they are shockingly still together. Not because of the marriage counseling from Sue Sylvester, but because of their undying love or whatever. They both work in the Cincinnati theater together. Another successful couple is Brittany and Santana. No more yeast infection commercials for Santana because she's wildly famous.
I like yeast in my bagel, but not in my muffin.
For a few years, she was a regular recorded artist, but that never picked up as much as she wanted, so she went into acting. It was an instant success. In the last 6 years, she has been the star of an Americanized telenovela, or a soap opera, if you will, as Rosetta Sanchez. Brittany graduated MIT with an aeronautical math engineering degree, and then immediately never put that degree to use. She's so real for that. But stay in school, kids, I guess. She now runs the Apocalyptics, cleverly named by Santana. Supposedly a gossip magazine, but Quinn does the editorials. See, I actually come back to storylines unlike Ryan Murphy. She also still runs Fondue for Two, a very popular YouTube series and podcast that gags call her daddy in every aspect. Lord and Lady Tubington were their first children, and yes, both are still alive because legends never die. Other than their fur babies, they also have 2 children. Eloisa, who is biologically Santana's, and Carter, biologically Brittany's, both fathered by Blaine because at this point the entire Glee Club basically has the same 3 parents. Lou is a dancer just like her mom and a sweet, naive, beautiful, and angel baby lamb who just sees the best in people. She's also in the new and improved Unholy Trinity, which is basically just a ripoff of her mom's group with Claire and Stella. Carter is a child genius who gives young Sheldon a run for his money. He just turned 11 and he's a freshman in high school. Super allergic to cats, which sucks considering he lives with 3. Also so whitewashed, he can't speak a lick of Spanish, so that sucks for him, but overall he's a sweet kid. Carter is friends with fellow freshman Daxton, class clown at McKinley who is obsessed with impressions and jokes. So I think you could take a wild guess as to who his dad is. If you guess Sam, that would be correct. 5 points for Gryffindor. Daxton is really strangely good friends with the principal, probably because if he wasn't, he would be in detention 24/7 for all the stupid pranks he pulls. Dax's sister Whitney is irrelevant for now, but all you need to know is that she's a gymnast and a total badass. Mercedes is a Grammy Award-winning record artist, and Sam, well, no one really knows what he does. He was a fitness instructor for a while, and then he coached football with Beast and helped with guidance with Emma, but now there is no clear answer. We think he's a US history teacher now, but we'd have to check the records. All we know is that he's happy, so at least he's doing better than me. Oof. Now, it wouldn't be Glee without an unnecessary scandal now, would it? That scandal is Valerie. Basically, Artie and Tina had a one-night stand after Mike broke off the engagement with Tina 3 months before their wedding. That one-night stand led to the creation of Valerie. Tina and Mike rekindled their relationship a week after the incident, and Artie rekindled with Kitty after she defended him in court for using copyrighted music in his film. He decided to keep the baby, and the 4 of them have been the co-parent dream team since then. The whole situation was a happy little accident, which would basically describe Valerie's entire existence. Back to the present day. Having the apparent fortune of her father, Valerie got into a car accident which sent her into a several-month coma. Now she has to repeat her senior year of high school and is obviously depressed because of that. I would be too, being a 5th year. Tina tried her hand at the whole acting thing, but that eventually failed because when has anything gone right with her? So now she's a producer at the theater. Meanwhile, Mike Chang is still the same. He owns a dance studio and volunteers at animal shelters and children's hospitals. Aww. Tina and Mike had 3 kids together. Oliver is a senior, a total diva, and a proud basketball player. Rebecca, or Bex, as she prefers. You know, she's a total badass because she wears a leather jacket over her Cheerios uniform. You can smell the freshman angst. She totally hates the Glee Club, rightfully so, and refuses to join. Lastly, Mikey is a first-grade Hellion and hated upon by all the other Glee adults. Artie and Kitty also have 3 Hellions. Children. Natalie, who is perfect. point blank perfect. She's a head cheerleader, and while you would totally expect her to be the biggest bitch, she is the kindest soul to ever exist. Dating President Nerd Ben, she's also a vegan. He's never going to let you forget that. Then there's Joshua, your typical hipster wannabe. He totally worships John Mayer like a god. Doesn't like the other kids and loves his art just a little too much. You can forget about him. That paragraph is more screen time than he has in the whole show. Wait, who are we talking about again? And lastly, there's Michaela, or Mickey, because it seems no one here can go by their actual name. She's really not doing too great. She's a raging alcoholic. Definitely has an undiagnosed something and will do pretty much anyone. Also, Hazel's mom, absent mom. Kitty, as previously mentioned, is an attorney, and Artie, a director. Mostly local stuff, sometimes a Hollywood project, but usually not because he's, quote, not a sellout. Jessie eventually moved on from Rachel Berry and married Betty Snow. She's been the lead in things such as Hamilton, Waitress, and Wicked. Together, they're the power couple of the theater. Jessie is a Tony Award-winning actor, writer, and director, and is currently focused on his award-winning musical, How Mary Lennon Got Away with Murder. So good on him for getting over Rachel. The two had Molly together. He's an only child. He's real dry, but hey, at least she's rocking that fuck-ass bob. But after being homeschooled for her whole life, she's a little socially awkward. He's excited to get away from her parents' spotlight by finally going to public school. Also has a fat with a PH crush on Jackson, who is also, may I remind you, still dating Claire. Good to see this club never strayed from its messy roots. Also, let's not forget the starter of all this, Mr. Shu. He's pretty content with his life as a teacher. Still married to Emma and a family man, even though all his kids are grown. Megan, who in this timeline was born around the same time as Beth, because if RIB doesn't have to be consistent, neither do I. She's a professional chef in Maine and besties with Beth. Danny ended up hating music, so that's a bit ironic. He lives in Florida and is a professional soccer player. Marcy is a sophomore in college and the lead in her rock band. Then there's Ben. He's a capital S fanboy obsessed with Harry Potter, Star Wars, and Broadway. He's okay, I guess. He's probably the best he could be as William Schuster's son. Cool. Now, speed round for all the extra characters who no one cares that much about. Diamond Flanagan, Rory and Sugar's kid. Lived in Ireland for most of her life, can't sing but really smart. Owen Smythe, Sebastian and Dave's kid. No, we don't have time to unpack that. He's a wrestler and just wants to dance, not as nice of a kid. Maya Winfred, Brenna's best and only friend. Ball of sunshine, sweet person, plus her dad owns breadsticks. Emmy Hardage, secretly trans, band kid and has shitty biological parents you should totally hate. Angel Martinez, fashionista and total icon. His mom also has beef with Rachel because of course, she stole another person's spotlight, no surprise there. And lastly, Ashton Couture, just moved from England and a total ladies man. Not so sure when the club became international, but anything for diversity at this point. So basically, the Glee kids couldn't keep their legs closed when they got older, and now they have a crap ton of kids. That makes the New Directions have even more drama than their parents. There you go, that's Missed on Glee. And for all of you thinking, wait, everyone magically remained a couple and stayed in Mila and had kids all at the same time? Unrealistic? I would also like to remind you that Glee had a storyline where Sue locked two gays in an elevator and made them kiss while a creepy Sue puppet watched. We are not the unrealistic ones here. Look at the source material. Choose to suspend your belief. After all, it is just Glee.